On today's episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, I'm going to dive in and do something a little different, folks. How come, and looking at the pro sports in the Carolinas, Greensboro, major league flirtation, but nothing to show for it. Before we get into today's content, folks, make sure you subscribe. Pound that like button, hit that bell notification to be notified of future content like what's in today's video. By all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. All right, folks, I got thinking about, Charlotte becoming such a booming market and how after the NBA arrived with the Hornets, and that was a big fanfare because we'll talk about other pro sports to set up shop before then. But I don't know if you classify it major league until they really, join the big leagues. And, having a small stint in one sport, but it was just until someone else built their arena, does that constitute a home? So I kind of wondered because, okay, Greensboro is kind of in the middle of Raleigh and Charlotte, prime example. And, with Raleigh, you got the triangle because you're looking at Raleigh and Durham, and then you add Chapel Hill with the universities. But Greensboro is like, Greensboro and Winston-Salem, and I guess High Point or Burlington, whatever it may be, textile area, that's the Triad. And then Charlotte is kind of to himself because it is the largest city in the Carolinas. Well, Greensboro is the third largest city in North Carolina, currently in 2021, but folks, Durham is closing in. And when you can include Raleigh and Durham, if Raleigh's already ahead of Greensboro, Durham passes it, Raleigh-Durham, still their population wouldn't be as much as Charlotte together. Now, we're not really talking about South Carolina because Charleston is the largest city in South Carolina. And if you include all the Carolinas, Charleston, South Carolina would rank 8th in population. Now, the largest city in the United States, Charlotte, is 15th. They have over 900,000 people. Raleigh ranks 41st at 475,000. Greensboro is 66 at 300,000. Durham is 72nd at 285,000. Winston-Salem is 90th at 248,000. Now, the Greensboro, though, when you look at it, say, well, Greensboro is too small, it's minor league. Some things are, but the city of Greensboro, as far as the city limits, population-wise, Greensboro has a bigger population than Pittsburgh. Hey, Pittsburgh's got 3 sports teams, folks: Steelers, Pirates, and the Penguins. And I understand most of those teams were established years ago before Pittsburgh started losing its population, but they still sell out and do well with their fans. St. Louis is 69th. They've had 2 attempts at football. Very good baseball town. They have hockey and things of that nature. And now they're getting pro soccer in St. Louis. So you have to take that into consideration. Orlando home in Disney World. They've got the Orlando Magic. They've got MLS soccer as well. And they've also looked at maybe getting the Tampa Bay Rays to move to Orlando or getting a major league expansion team, baseball. St. Petersburg, which I know is part of the Tampa market, but by itself, St. Petersburg's city population is less than Greensboro. And then Buffalo. And I know Buffalo's got the Bills, and of course they've got the Sabres. Right down the road years ago, Rochester, New York had a North American Soccer League team. I wouldn't know if that's the Buffalo market, but one time Buffalo had the NBA for about 6 years with the Buffalo Braves before they moved to San Diego. All right, folks, the media market. Charlotte is number 22 all time right now. Raleigh's 24th. Now, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, the media market is 47th. But listen, that's ahead of New Orleans, who's number 50. Memphis, who's number 51. Buffalo, who's 53. Of course, Green Bay's 69, but we know Green Bay, they only have the Packers, and that's kind of that historic deal, and a lot of people kind of drive up, never how long it is from Milwaukee. But let's look at Greensboro. It's been the ACC headquarters since 1953. 7 members of the Southern Conference split. They had a meeting there. They created a conference. About 6 months later, Virginia becomes school number 8 in December of 53. The Greensboro Coliseum was built around this time. They had an eye, this Coliseum, because of how big basketball was in North Carolina. It is the largest indoor arena in the U.S., seating over 23,500. So yes, it is huge. It was mainly done for such events as the NCAA tournament and looking at the ACC tournament. Very big thing. It's hosted the ACC tournament 23 times since 1967. Now, we got to look back during the 70s because Greensboro had a population of 144,000 plus. Raleigh was only 14,000 people more, 158,000. And even though Charlotte was twice as big at 281,000, the numbers have grown significantly for these cities. And even though Greensboro has grown, haven't grown as rapidly as Raleigh and definitely not Charlotte's. The 1990s, Greensboro had a population of 228,500 plus. Raleigh 291,000, so you see there's a growing gap. Charlotte 768,000, just rocketing past Greensboro. 2020, Greensboro 301,000 plus. Raleigh 483,000 plus. Charlotte 900,000 plus. So we kind of got to look at why no NFL in the Greensboro area. Well, Charlotte becomes the center of the Carolinas right there on the state line. South Carolina being a football state. They have a monopoly. Charlotte has a monopoly on NFL football. There's no chance for Greensboro to get an NFL team. Why no MLS, you say? Well, now that Charlotte has the MLS because of David Tepper having the Panthers, Raleigh come very close to getting MLS, folks. And if the MLS was to expand and add like 6 more teams, you can't really rule Raleigh out. I really think their chances have dropped off because once Charlotte got a team, I think the MLS is kind of satisfied with just having one team. But I'm telling you, if they put a team in Raleigh, it would be well supported and a good rival with Charlotte. But there's chances that there's no way Greensboro is going to get that. And looking at soccer, we can go all the way back. There's no North American Soccer League team in the 70s or 80s in the Carolinas. All we had was NASCAR. And the AS American Soccer League team was in Charlotte in the early 80s. They were very successful winning the championship. But you're not going to get pro soccer in Greensboro. Why no NBA? Well, I do believe the NBA can support 2 teams in the Carolinas. I do. But it's apparent that the league is satisfied with just Charlotte. They missed their attempt with the ABA in the 1970s. They were one of the more higher attended teams in the ABA. And if the NBA would have taken 5 or 6, and if the Cougars wouldn't have left Greensboro, the Carolinas, and moved to St. Louis, if they'd taken 5 or 6, they probably would have gotten in with Kentucky. So that's something to look at. Why no Major League Baseball? What chance the MLB ever had of coming, whatever chance the Major League Baseball had of coming to the Carolinas was missed out by the Triad. Greensboro, Winston-Salem, they had this tax vote. Guilford County, which is Greensboro, Forsyth County, which is Winston-Salem, voted in the late 1990s. If Major League Baseball is to come to Charlotte, that's the best chances you got. There's a small chance Major League Baseball would come to Raleigh, but that's very small. They blew their shot when they didn't pass that referendum. Would have been a small tax for Greensboro and Winston-Salem to build a stadium. That's not to say that the Minnesota Twins owner would have moved the team, but definitely building a stadium in Connersville, which was between Greensboro and Winston-Salem, would have helped. NHL, Greensboro had the Hurricanes for 2 years, but it was a stopgap measure till Raleigh had built their arena in the late 1990s. There's no chance another team follows the Hurricanes who play in Raleigh. In fact, if a second NHL team, if somebody just says, I've got to be in the Carolinas, which is very highly unlikely, that team would probably go to Charlotte. They've got the arena where the Hornets play. That would be probably your best chance if it was going to happen with 2 teams. But Greensboro is known as the ACC tournament. It's also known as the ACC headquarters. Along with the NCAA tournaments, they hosted the Final Four in 1974, which is the year NC State won it. Wake Forest has played some home games away from Winston-Salem when they played bigger schools to accommodate bigger crowds at the Coliseum. Pro chances of the past, like I said, pro basketball, the ABA, 1969, 1974. Carolina Cougars had a lot of success and popularity. It was a regional team that played a few games in Winston-Salem, played some in Raleigh, Dortney Arena, very small, mainly in Charlotte, but more often than not in Greensboro. They had the nicest Coliseum. Greensboro had the better attended games. It was mainly thought of the main home for the team. Carolina played a home playoff game in Charlotte. It was Game 7 against Kentucky, and I want to say it was 1973, might have been 72. But they lost that game. They decided to play Game 7 in Charlotte, and I think there was more of a home court advantage playing the game in Greensboro. And Not having it there cost they lost the game to Kentucky. If they could have played the game in Greensboro, maybe they win, and I'm not saying they would have, and then they would have been playing for the ABA championship. So it's just kind of sad that didn't happen. But 1974, the Cougars ended up leaving Greensboro, Carolina, and they went to St. Louis, and that ended Greensboro's pro basketball chances. But Greensboro outdrew both Raleigh and Charlotte for the ABA. They had 10,000 plus, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for an upstart league or a league that's like playing second fiddle to the NBA, that was just as good as some NBA attendance, folks. Now, the Greensboro has a G League team, which is like minor league, a Hornets minor league team called the Swarm. Like I said, pro hockey, the Hartford Whalers, they moved to Greensboro from Hartford because they needed a temporary home till the arena was built in Raleigh. They played 2 years at the Coliseum in Greensboro, and it was dreadful because an hour and a half drive for people from Raleigh to go back and forth in the middle of the week to watch Greensboro. They knew the Hurricanes were playing lame duck until they moved to Raleigh, so people from Greensboro kind of stayed away. And then in 1999, they moved to the new arena in Raleigh. But they had 18,000 plus fans for the first game in Greensboro, but many times they drew less than 10,000 fans in that 23,500 seat arena, and it looked very bad. And it was really the running joke on ESPN because all those green seats, they called it Green Acres. Now, 1998, Major League Baseball owner Carl Pohlad wanted to move his Minnesota Twins if he didn't get a new arena, which he's got Target Field now. He threatened to move the Twins to North Carolina if he didn't get a new stadium in Minneapolis-St. Paul. And the concept of the team in the Triad in Kernersville, which is between Greensboro, Guilford County, Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, if the food tax would be approved. Vote yes for Triad baseball failed at the polls by a total of 2-1 in votes. And Don Beaver, he was the front man. He had a minor league interest in the Pittsburgh Pirates and had some minor league teams that he had owned, Charlotte Knights being one. Said he would pay 1/3 of the stadium if Greensboro paid for a third and Winston-Salem paid for the other third. It might have been employed by a Minnesota owner, but if it would have been passed, maybe, just maybe, someone had moved to the Carolinas. Now, if Major League Baseball was to come to the Carolinas now, it's going to be Charlotte, with a very small chance of being Raleigh because Charlotte does have 3 teams. Raleigh has 1. I'm putting my money on Charlotte, if any. But you can forget Greensboro getting Major League Baseball. So my big what if is, what if the height of the Greensboro Coliseum, when it was built, when it was the pinnacle, if it would have been a baseball field at a pinnacle, with such grand ideas, and it came along a time when the Twins were looking to move in the late 1990s, would we've had Major League Baseball in the Carolinas? Okay, folks, what do you think of today's video? I know it's a little bit different. Pound that like button. Leave me some comments on this. By all means, folks, hit bell notification to be notified of future content on the Panthers, Hornets, Hurricanes, and major college sports in the Carolinas. And by all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And this is Uncle Chucky, and we'll see you next time on another edition of the Carolina Sports Guy.